Oh no! How about that, my friends? How about that? I left the graphic in front of my face. What a great way to start. Some people might say that's the better way. We don't have to see you, Dr. Sem. But here I am. Welcome to the Dr. Sem Yankee Show. And it is here that we talk a lot about the Yankees, of course. And the season starts next week, so we will actually have real baseball to talk about. But we're going to do something a little different today. We have a very special guest, and I'll introduce him in just a moment. But let's make today a great day. And how do you make your day great? You look to the good and you embrace it. You bring it in and you say, you know what? I treasure and I value and am appreciative of all the goodness that's around me. But I know. Sometimes people say there is no good. I can find nothing good. I think there's always good, even in our darkest times. But if you can't find any good, there is a solution. Do good. Do something nice for someone else. And then there's good. You can't help but see it because you are creating the good. Remember that when we give love, it comes back to us in greater amounts than we ever gave. Also, quickly, as you know, the show is brought to you by Artemisia Publishing, one of the great independent publishers in the entire country. They've also published many, many, many great books, including some by me, the least among them, Roy White's From Compton to the Bronx, 365.2, Scattering the Ashes, my newest book, The Greatest New York Yankees by Uniform Number. I need to make a better graphic for that one. But go to apbooks.net because they have a wide selection of great books. Really, they don't do a whole lot of sports books. They really started the sports genre with me. There's a couple other books there, one by Lincoln Mitchell, one by Rob Skeed. But they have books across a variety, a plethora of genres. Check them out at apbooks.net. And reminder that this show is part of the greatest Yankees site out there, my site, Start Spreading the News. But you know what's better than Start Spreading the News? The author, columnist, sports writer, Dan Hirshberg. Dan, how are you today?
I'm great. Oh, at that beginning there, I mean, I'm feeling great.
I love it. Yes, indeed. Thank you. I did tell Dan that last week, for whatever reason, we kept losing a signal. So if I go away or I freeze, Dan's going to start telling some great stories. Now, Dan, share a little of your background with us.
So I grew up in New Jersey, and I grew up a Yankee fan. Over time, I've actually segued, became a Met fan and a Rays fan. Yeah, Tampa Bay, somebody's got to root for them. But I my background's kind of wacky. I started out as a social worker, and then I became a sports editor, and then I got into government work, and then I got into public relations work. And as I like to tell people, I'm semi-retired now, and really back to my roots. I'm doing a lot of writing. I write for a group of newspapers in Pinellas County, Tampa Bay area in Florida, and as you noted, I recently wrote a book, Baseball in Pinellas County. So, just trying to have a good time.
That's what it's all about. And you are, obviously. So tell us about your new book, and then maybe we'll talk about one of your older books too, about Phil Rizzuto. But let's start with this one, Baseball in Pinellas County.
Yeah. So what happened was about 7 years ago, I have a place in Florida. I still have a place in New Jersey, and there's this group of newspapers. I call them beach papers, but they're more than that. All kinds of local news and that sort of thing. And I looked at it, and they're pretty good, but they didn't have much sports in it. And of course, in Pinellas County, there's quite a history with spring training. With the Yankees trained here for many years, the Mets trained here for many years, the Cardinals trained here, the Orioles did for a couple of years. You had, and then of course the Toronto Blue Jays, who still train here, and also the Philadelphia Phillies. So I had an idea to contact the editor and say, look, I'd like to do some feature stories about former players that spring trained here, and kind of what are they up to now, what happened to them, that sort of thing. I guess you could say whatever became of, and that's what I did initially, and interviewed people like Dwight Gooden and Tony Kubek and Mike Shannon from the Cardinals. And so that's how it started. And then as time went on, I started to honestly get to know a lot of people, and I heard about, I started hearing about all these people that either grew up in Pinellas County. When I say Pinellas County, we're talking St. Petersburg, Clearwater, Dunedin, that stretch. And so I started to hear about all these people that live here. They grew up here. They have connections here. And I realized it's really amazing how many former either coaches, scouts, guys that played in the major leagues, guys that maybe they were great in high school, didn't quite make it, or got to the minor leagues. Maybe they got to AAA, but that was it. And I've always enjoyed writing people stories. I always like to find like what's the story that this person, maybe nobody knows, but it's something special. And so then I really started writing about more of those people. And then from that, I had the book idea of kind of putting them together, almost like a collection of stories, I guess you'd call it. And a lot of the book is that, although I do augment it with other new material and things like that. And I did a lot of editing to upgrade, upgrade some things, or bring it up to date, I should say. And that's how the book came apart, Baseball in Pinellas County, through the History Press. And it's been a great experience, a lot of fun. And in fact, the book came out really in the fall. And as I like to joke, I've talked to, I think, every Rotary Club, Kiwanis Club, Lions Club, some retirement communities in Pinellas County. There's very few groups that I have not spoken to about it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So
I believe that you have a great story, I know you do, about Don Zimmer's son in the book.
Yeah, Tom Zimmer. So, and again, these are the crazy things. Sometimes I'll say to somebody, "Oh yeah, there's a chapter on Tom Zimmer," and they're like, "You mean Don Zimmer?" I'm like, "No, Tom Zimmer." So, I mean, it's incredible. Everybody knows Don, of course, but Tom was actually a scout for the San Francisco Giants for like 40 plus years. I mean, unbelievable. And he just has some great stories. He grew up in Seminole, Florida, and played ball here. Got drafted by Cincinnati, if I remember correctly. And at some point, he realized I don't really have what it takes here, and then he segued into being a minor league manager. I think at like 24 years old, and then he became a scout and all this other stuff. And yeah, so he was actually at one of those pivotal points in his life of what to do. Do I still try to hang on to being a minor league guy? Do I whatever? And the offer was for him to be a scout, and he really wasn't thrilled about it. But then he talked to his dad, and he said, "Look, that's the way to get your foot in the door." And so, 45 some odd years later, he's since retired a few years ago, but he was a scout with the Giants on different levels, from the amateur to professional scouting. And the difference is simply looking at high school kids, looking at college kids, as opposed to keeping an eye on major league players for possible trades, for that sort of thing. So anyway, so he did that, and he did it for a long time. And one of the best stories he told me, and boy, Tom's got tons of great stories, was at some point. Let's take a step back. The scouts, it used to be, if you were a scout, you're basically this old guy, a former player, and there's no pension. So this is your way to make a few dollars, and I mean a few dollars, and still be part of the game. And then some younger guys started coming in. But so at some point, and in the old days, the scouting report was simple. You would go to the game, you'd call up the front office, and you would dictate some highlights of the guy, whatever, and then they would in turn transcribe it, and it would go up the ladder. And then so over the years, eventually you had fax machines that made things a little bit better, right? So they would write up their stuff, and they were able to fax the information and by the way, I talk to people today, younger people, they don't even know what a fax machine is.
It's crazy.
It's unbelievable. It wasn't that long ago.
No, it was not.
So then, of course, the computers came in. Now, Tom tells me the story that the Giants weren't like the big spenders. So, but everybody was segueing to computers. And he said that, he talked to other scouts on other teams, and they would have these training sessions, how to operate, your new computer, which my guess is at that time, it wasn't a laptop like now. It was probably a whole big contraption. And, they would over several days be trained on how to do it, how to input stuff and all this. So, he said, no, the Giants, they had us all come to a motel or a hotel in an airport. They flew in. They gave everybody a computer. They said, punch this button. This turns it on. Go here, hit this button, and that takes you to the scouting reports. And that was it. They really didn't tell them how to do any of this stuff. So anyway, the season starts, and it's like 3 weeks into it, and eventually the front office is calling and saying, where's all the scouting reports? So, of course, everybody's still trying to figure out the system. Tom tells me that almost every night he's calling up his kids to find out what to do next. So there was like no point person for the team. And he said a lot of scouts quit, retired, because they just could not make the transformation to computers. I guess the same thing, with movies, when sound came in, some actors couldn't do it, right? So anyway, that's a great story he told me. And then he said he was telling me another story. He was in the minor leagues at the time, and I guess it was one of the first baseball strikes.
Maybe 81 or 73?
73, yeah. So, and a lot of players, it was kind of short-lived, but for a while, a lot of players, I remember this, a lot of them came to Florida, and they were working out like on a high school field or whatever it was to get ready for the season. They kind of ran their own training session. So Zimmer was a catcher, and they didn't really have any catchers. So somehow he got ingratiated, and he was the catcher on all these like pickup games, with guys from the Mets and the Phillies, and there were some Giants involved with that. He was the catcher, and I think it was Willie McCovey he's talking to. McCovey, he forgot his bat or something. So Zimmer gives him a metal bat, and he's creaming the ball, right? They're just boom, boom. And he says, I couldn't use this in a game. I'd be killing people. So
I think he would. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
So, yeah. So, all that kind of stuff. And actually, it wasn't McCovey. I think it was Willie Stargell, because the Pirates were in Bradenton. That's what it was. So, but anyway, you get the idea. It was a big thrill. Yeah, it was a big thrill for him to be, playing with all these major league players that he grew up, really, really enjoying watching. And yeah.
That's great. You just wrote a great story for one of your papers, or it was syndicated, but about Bill Matthews. Mm-hmm. You're talking about players, behind the scenes and lesser known players in Pinellas County. A lot of people don't think about the official scorer at a game, and you have a great story about Bill Matthews.
Yeah, so Bill is an interesting guy. So he was actually the coach of Eggard College for like 30 years. He actually won like 500 games. So phenomenal coach. And at some point, I think he, like 2004, at some point, to take a step back, Major League Baseball, it used to be the official scorer was like a sports writer that covered the team. And at some point, Major League Baseball said, we got to get away from this. It's got to be somebody somewhat neutral, because obviously, calls could go the other way or your way, I should say. So Matthews had been involved with some camps, summer camps for, I guess, local kids, and with the Rays, involved with the Tampa Bay Rays. So we got to know Rick Vaughn, who was the PR guy, and when it started to come down, like, you guys should be using a more neutral official scorer, Rick Vaughn approached our guy, Bill Matthews, and said, "Hey, would you like to do this?" And he's like, "I don't know. I've never kept score. I'm the coach,
That's
right?"
great. Yep. So,
and Rick says, "That's all right. You'll get the hang of it, and so Bill said, "Well, the one thing I got going for me is that as a coach, people have yelled at me, they've cursed at me, they've, whatever." So if anybody complains about one of my calls, I guess I can just rub it off. And anyway, so he started in 2004, and I think a couple of years later, he actually became a full-time guy. There's only 90 official scorers in all of Major League Baseball.
Crazy.
Yeah, not a lot. Each team, has, I guess there's probably 3 representatives, but he does most Rays games, like 60 of them. But he also, he's actually like a supervisor. So when he's not at a Rays game, he might be watching a game on TV and just kind of, controversial calls come up. He's taking notes on who the scorer was. Yeah.
That's
good
great
guy.
stuff.
Good guy. Very interesting.
Nice. One of the things I love is when people are associated with the game or in the game and they share those words, good guy, good guy. Even as adults, we root for these guys, right? And in some ways, I don't know if we look up to them like we did when we were kids. They're not mythological figures or superheroes anymore, but we still want to root for them. And it's much easier to root for a guy who's a good guy than a guy who's not a good guy. Yeah.
We should, since this is a Yankee-oriented show, talk about, there was one major controversial call that Mr. Matthews did last year, and that's when Max Fried had a no-hitter going. The short story is, it was a little dribbler down the first base line. Runner beats it out. It's deemed an error by Bill Matthews. Well, it was one of those that could go either way, and he looked it over several times, and basically, I think it was two innings later, he changed it to a hit. Fried had a no-hitter going. So, yeah, he said his cell phone and it was lighting up with people complaining and everything else. And it turned out that Jake Mangum, that inning actually had a clean
Gave
single.
Up a hit. I kind of remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, but but he said besides that, basically as long as you're fair and equitable, he's never really had any issues.
That's great, and I'm glad to hear that too.
Yeah.
Now we're getting close to the bottom of the half hour already, so there's a lot of things I still want to talk to you about. So hopefully we can get to it all. Right. You have been to 43 different venues for baseball.
This is true. I've been in every Major League Baseball city that currently has a team. Plus, I've been to Montreal. Plus, I saw the Mets and the Phillies play in London, and I saw the Blue Jays play in Dunedin against the Angels the year that they were unable to go north because of COVID, and people might be saying, well, I can't, the math doesn't add up. Well, because there's only 30 teams. So even what I just told you, that's 33 venues. But I've been to seeing the Braves in 3 different stadiums, 2 Yankee stadiums, 2 Mets stadiums, 2 San Diego stadiums, 2 Giants stadiums. So, when you start adding all that up, you got to 43.
That's awesome. Favorite stadium?
Okay, so I always have to divide this up a little bit because you have the old stadiums and the new stadiums. The new stadiums, hands down, it's PNC Park, Pittsburgh.
Nice. I was there a couple of years ago. Great stadium.
Absolutely, hands down the best. Camden Yards is great.
Love it too. Yep.
I am a fan of the Phillies ballpark. I'm not a Phillies fan. In fact, I hate the Phillies, but their ballpark is great. And the Giants' new stadium is awfully good too. So, but PNC Park, Pittsburgh, number 1. For the old ballparks, I have to go, in a lot of ways, for sentimental reasons, the original Yankee Stadium. That to me was the best.
Now, does that mean the refurbished one in 76 or before that?
The original one. Yeah. with the poles and everything else.
Mm.
Yep. So, that was my favorite. I mean, Wrigley Field is probably a close second, Fenway number 3. But yeah, the original Yankee Stadium, that's the one that, yeah.
I miss the old Yankee Stadium. I don't think the new stadium compares in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, thank you.
Terrible.
Yeah.
It's
And
embarrassing.
for the Yankees, it should be better.
Mhm.
And what they've made a decision, I don't know if you've been to Yankee Stadium within the last year or two, but they've made the decision to now pipe in noise and music loud at the highest decibels. I went to a game last year, and the first pitch was a strike, and they started making noise on the scoreboard. Let's get loud. I'm like,
Yeah.
They don't even have any idea of how you build up a story, even as a fan just watching. Like, we don't need to be loud after one pitch in the first inning. And it's so loud. Like, my 27-year-old son sitting next to me, I'm like, I can't even hear you, and he couldn't hear me. They've made it less appealing, if that's even possible.
Well, a lot of ballparks do that, but I'll tell you my story is, and I agree with you. I was at a Mets-Yankees game this year or last year, and I'm with my 2 grandsons, my son and his wife, and we have great seats, except there's a speaker right above us, and every time you're hearing everything, it's it takes away from the game. I think it doesn't.
I agree. 100%.
It doesn't allow the fans to just naturally get something going.
Exactly. 100%. The organ and the idea of fun. Like, I don't mind rock and roll. I like rock and roll music. I don't mind loud.
Mhm.
I don't mind exciting, but you have to do it in the right times, and it doesn't have to be constant, and you don't need sound effects and weird noises.
Exactly.
All right. So you also covered a lot of boxing, and that's, of course, how you and I came into contact. We have a mutual friend, the great Jack Hirsch,
Mhm.
who has a new book coming, and I'll have him on this show one of these days. He wrote a book with former heavyweight champion Michael Spinks. But who is your favorite boxer of all time?
Oh boy, favorite boxer.
You can name 5, like your favorites. Doesn't have to be
Yeah,
one.
I mean, I was a big Joe Frazier fan.
Nice.
I was. And in fact, we used to have backyard boxing matches, and my moniker was Smoking Joe Hirsch. So yeah, but I would say he was my favorite.
That's great.
There's a lot of guys I really enjoyed covering. I covered Tommy Morrison a lot.
Wow.
That was a sad story in the end.
Yeah, Tommy Gunn.
Yeah.
He fought Rocky.
Yeah, exactly. So, he was a good story, and boy, it was a sad ending with him. I mean,
he had AIDS, right? Died of AIDS.
He had AIDS, and then it was a whole conspiracy. He felt it was a conspiracy. He claimed he didn't have AIDS, and it's just the whole thing was.
Oh, how sad.
Yeah, it was kind of a very weird thing, but so and Sugar Ray Leonard, great fun fighter to watch, just so many of them. Did
Hagler beat him back then with Leonard Hagler?
I think Hagler did win. Yes.
Yeah, I did too. I thought he won.
I remember watching it. I remember watching it in Larry Holmes's bar in Easton, Pennsylvania.
Oh, I've been in there.
Really?
My sons went to Lafayette College.
Oh,
right up the hill.
Yeah.
I went in there twice trying to find Larry Holmes. This was within the last 10 years or so. He wasn't ever there. And people he was
not there for that one, but I was in he had 2 bars actually. And I was at his other place, which was called, I think, the Ringside. And he was there. It was the night of the Tyson Holyfield fight.
Oh, with the bite?
And it was all loud, and you're watching the big screen, and you knew something was wrong. It was just Holyfield's jumping around and stuff, but you can't hear the commentating. And that was the night that Tyson bit off, a piece of Holyfield's ear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Absolutely.
But I used to love covering boxing, and a lot of the club shows at the Old Fell Forum, and I saw a lot of the big fights in Atlantic City and Madison Square Garden, and there was a lot of good storylines back then, for sure.
I miss it. We were talking before we went on about they've sort of taken the sport away from the fans. I couldn't tell you any champion now. I couldn't tell you when a fight is. I don't know I don't know how to watch fights. I don't know where they are. So it's a shame because, and I fear that they're going to do that with every sport. Putting them on all these streaming services. I don't know if you know this. Yankees opening day is not going to be on TV. It's going to be on, I don't know which one. I don't follow the streaming services. If they take the game away, it might be on Apple TV or Peacock or Amazon. I don't know what it is, but
I think you're right. I think it's
not on. I know they're not on. Can you imagine? Fans wait all winter to see opening day and they go, oh, yeah, you can't see it unless you buy this package. And so I just, and I won't watch.
What are you going to buy a whole package for one night?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's crazy. And, that's what happened with boxing. Like, oh, this fight's on HBO, but this one's on pay-per-view. No, this one's on Showtime. No, I couldn't keep up with it.
Yeah.
Dan, this has been a great pleasure. I loved talking with you. Maybe we can do this again because this was a whole lot of fun.
Sure. I'd love to do it again. Absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Dan, thank you very much. And my dear friends watching, be kind, give kindness, be just nice and appreciate what's around you. You never know. If you're nice, you might make a new friend, just like I did today. Have yourselves a wonderful day.